Hey everyone, it's Tatiana and Happy New Year. I'm here with Stefan, my husband from Project Life Mastery's YouTube channel. And today we're here to share with you how to get what you want out of 2023. So we wanted to put this video out at the beginning, the start of 2023, so that you can watch it and really benefit from what we have to share, so that you can achieve your goals this year, and so that you can achieve your goals this year that will help you to achieve your long-term vision for your life. And so what we're about to share with you is coming from our own personal experience. The both of us have been working on our vision and our goals for many years now, and very grateful to God to be able to say that we have manifested, we've achieved everything that we wanted to achieve. I'm very grateful for the lifestyle that I get to live. I wouldn't change it for anything, and it's pretty amazing. And the reason I share this is because it wasn't always like this. We had to start somewhere. And so what we're about to share with you, we believe, was one of the most important elements in us being able to achieve our goals and us being able to now live the life that was once a dream. So what we're going to talk to you about today is having a vision for your life. It all starts with having a vision. Your vision is like the destination of where it is that you want to go. Where are you heading? It's very easy to just wake up every day and just go through the routine of life without necessarily working towards anything. And so when you have a vision, you now have clarity on what it is that you want. And a lot of times people just don't have clarity. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they don't want. And guess what? When you don't know what you want, you'll never achieve it, because it's only when you know what you want that you can actually work towards it. So having the vision is the most important element, and it's fun to create a vision. We're going to talk about that. And once you have the vision, once you have the destination, now you have to say, okay, now how can I work on turning this dream into a reality? And that comes down to setting goals that are going to be like stepping stones that will help you to slowly get closer and closer to achieving this big vision. So your goals are kind of like your metaphorical compass, and they're going to lead you to the promised land. And so when you have these two elements, then you're going to get so much more out of your day, out of your month, out of your year. And that's how I can guarantee you that if you've put some time, this year, this month, today, into setting goals, into creating your vision, then by the end of the year, you're going to look back, you're going to reflect, and you're going to be like, wow, look what I've achieved. Wow, I've achieved my goals. Wow, my life has changed so much. Or you can just skip this step and just kind of go through each day, waking up and being in reaction and kind of mindlessly going through the routines of life, and you're just not going to get as far. So Stefan, why don't you start us off and share with us, what does it mean to have a vision? What is a vision?
A vision is just something that you make up in your mind with your imagination of you determining what you want for your life. And there's no right or wrong answer. Your vision might be very different than our vision, might be different than the next person. But it's essentially you just answering the question, what do I want for my life? Life is precious. We're only here for so long. Let's make the most out of it. What would be a life that you would live that you'd be proud of? A life of no regrets. A life where, the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years of your life goes by, and you lived your life the way you wanted to. You lived your life on your terms, not someone else's. Because I think a lot of people, they don't have a plan for their life, and so they fall into the plan of someone else. Mm-hmm. They're just, living their life, going through it day by day, but the life that you want, it's not going to just fall out of the sky and, land in your lap. You have to pursue it. Mm-hmm. And that starts with getting that clarity, really asking yourself the question, what do I want for my life? So for us, we have a process that we've done generally every year, but it was actually one of the very first conversations of a relationship, yeah. Our very first date, the very first time that we met up. I remember to this day, going for a walk on the seawall in Vancouver, and then sitting down on the beach during summertime on a log and just having a conversation. What do you want out of life? What do you want to be in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30 years from now? And that was the foundation of our relationship, is by dreaming in that way. And we believe that anything that you desire and want in your life can happen, because there's more than enough evidence of other people that have been able to achieve the unthinkable, that have turned something that is, impossible into a possibility, the invisible into the visible. And so it requires having that courage, having an open mind, kind of like a childlike mentality, that if you were to ask a kid and say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? They're going to say astronaut. I want to be a race car driver. I want to be, professional athlete. There's no limitations to it, because the limitations that we have are also made up in our mind as we go through life and we experience pain and disappointment, and things don't always happen the way you expect them to. You have to ensure that that the pain of your life, or the things that have occurred in your life, you don't allow those to become limitations. There's a saying that says from Tony Robbins that the past does not equal the future. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people, they're still living in the past. And so they have limitations, and they stop dreaming. They stop imagining what they want for their life, because they become skeptical and they take on this negative attitude and says, yeah, but, I'll probably fail, or, no, that's not possible, or that's a scam and that's not real. And they discredit things and don't allow themselves to take on a possibility mentality, to take on a dream and a hope, because they're anticipating the failure of it and the disappointment and the pain. And so they don't want to get their hopes up. But if you don't get your hopes up, you can never change your life. If you don't get your hopes up, then you can't create what you want for your life. And so it really just starts with that question. What do I want for my life? Taking out a journal, being out in nature, spending some time with your partner, your loved one, and say, what do you want? What should we create over the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years from our life that would excite us, motivate us, wake us up early, keep us up late at night, something that we can pursue that's exciting.
Exactly. So your vision, it needs to be juicy. It needs to be compelling. It needs to be something that gets you to wake up and jump out of bed excited to start your day, excited to work on your goals, because you know that it's going to get you closer and closer to achieving that vision. So it needs to be compelling. And you should not limit yourself by your current circumstances, because your current circumstances are only your current circumstances, and those will change as you grow, as you evolve. So don't consider, you want to have this childlike imagination of where you want to be and where you see yourself in the next 5, 10, 20 years. You choose what the timeline is for your vision. And so maybe it's something like you have the vision that you want to, live off grid and be self-sufficient, and, that's the vision that you have. Or maybe it's that you want to live the laptop lifestyle and be able to travel the world. Or maybe it's that you just want to earn financial freedom so that you can spend more time with your family. Or maybe it's, that you want to build your dream home on the beach. Whatever your vision is, it's your vision. Don't take on someone else's vision. You have to create your own, because again, it has to come from within. It has to excite you. And there's no right or wrong here. It doesn't matter what your vision is. It doesn't matter what motivates you to achieve the vision, whether it's something like motivate your children or what motivate you to pursue a greater life, or whether it's, materialism that motivates you. I don't care. The point is that use what you can to fuel yourself so that you have the energy to work towards your vision every single day. So with your vision, what you want to do is you want to dream big, okay? You want to imagine what it is that you want, and you need to believe it. You must believe that it is possible to achieve. If you don't believe it, you're just not going to try, okay? So you have to have, it has to be realistic enough to you that it's something that with time, with effort, with resourcefulness, that you will achieve it. And so, when I first met Stefan, and that day that we were sitting on the beach and we were sitting on a log, and he asked me, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? What kind of life do you want to live? And I was like, never really thought of that. And I was thinking and he kind of prompted me, and he's like, would you want to live in Canada still, or would you maybe want to live in a different country? What about living on the beach? What about having your dream home on the beach? And I was like, oh wow, yeah, that would be exciting. And so I started to get energy. I started to get excited about that. And so since, that day, I had this vision of like, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to live in a tropical climate and to have my dream home on the beach? And here we are 8 years later, we're in Panama, living in Panama, and just across the street from us, we are currently building our dream home on the beach. And so that didn't just happen, overnight. That happened 8 years ago. It started 8 years ago when we made that vision together, when we created that vision together of what it is that we wanted. And over the last 8 years, we've been taking those stepping stones. We've been achieving goals, all of them helping us getting closer and closer to achieving this ultimate vision. And this is just part of the vision, right? There's a lot more to the vision than that. But it only takes 1 second to change your life. And you have to remember this. It takes 1 second to change your life, because in 1 second you can make a decision. And that decision is what changes your life. That decision is what now leads you to taking different actions in your life that will lead to different results. So if you're not happy with where things are, if you're not happy with where you are at in your life right now, then you have to be brutally honest with yourself. You have to reflect, and you have to ask yourself, what needs to change? Because obviously something needs to change if I'm not happy with where I'm at. And you have to make that decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always gotten. A change has to be made. And, if, you'd already have what it is that you want if you're doing everything that needs to be done. So you have to be open and willing to look at your current circumstance and be willing to make changes that can allow you to create the life that you want. And it's almost like planting a seed. Mm-hmm. You plant the seed in the soil, you come back tomorrow, you're not going to see any result from that. But you have the trust, the belief, the faith that if I'm consistent, if I keep coming back and I keep watering this seed, that as time occurs, eventually that will sprout. And oftentimes, when you're watering the seed, there's actually things that are occurring that you can't even see yet. There's roots that are growing underground that are laying the foundation for that success that is yet to come in your life. But you still have to be consistent. You still have to have that belief and that faith and take action and set the goals and follow through on them, and to continue to learn and to continue to apply different things. And then eventually it does sprout and it grows. And so the vision is such a long-term thing, but it's incredibly powerful. Yeah. And we're going to talk about the goals. But one quote I like from Albert Einstein, he says that imagination is more powerful than knowledge, because knowledge is what is, and imagination is what could be. And your imagination is essentially the preview of your life's coming attractions. And so the more that you visualize, the more that you look at that vision, you create a vision board, you create a video of, maybe of what your ideal lifestyle would look like. You walk through and you maybe write out what your ideal day would look like in terms of what time you'd wake up and where you'd live and what you'd do first part of the morning and who's in your life that you would share it with, and the things that you would do and the time that you'd have and the emotions that you'd experience and the car that you'd drive and all of that. The more that you can play that in your mind, the more real it becomes, the more exciting it becomes, and the more you get energy from that will pull you towards making that a reality.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'll link in the description box some videos that Stefan's done about like how to actually like kind of create your vision. So you want to write it out, you want to be detailed. Again, you want to get clarity. Clarity is power. With clarity, you can now start to achieve what you want. Also, it's important for your mind. We have this reticular activating system that will process information. And when we know what we want, our brains are going to be more focused on noticing things in our life that they were always there, but now we notice them and how they can help us to achieve that ultimate vision. So, your vision is necessary. It's important. And you want to make sure that you're looking at it every day, because you want to, again, register it, and you want to kind of get it into your subconscious mind, and you want it to be part of your life. And so write it out, have it somewhere you can read it every day, have a vision board, make a vision video if you want to do like a bunch of, I've done both, and just make sure that you're every single day you're exposing yourself to that ultimate vision. So now once you have this vision, now how can we turn that into a reality? So some people think that, oh, well, I'm just going to manifest it. I just need the vision, and then I'll just sit back, and then, life will happen and it will land in my lap. But that's not really how things work. You still need to take action steps so that you can achieve that vision. So it requires work on your part. And what we now do is we start to create goals. So the goals are going to be small stepping stones that are going to ultimately lead to your ultimate vision, right? And so I mentioned, my vision of living on the beach started 8 years ago, and it's only now that this house is being built. And all over these 8 years, I've been taking massive action, we both have, to achieve goals that all kind of led to the ultimate vision. And so, Stefan, how would one create goals? How does one decide what's a good goal to have in my life and what's a goal that's not going to be helpful? And how do you even go about that?
Yeah, so I think, one thing just in terms of the vision and goals. So we are a believer in having a vision for every area of your life, your relationship, your career, your business, your finances, your mental and emotional well-being, your spirituality, your physical body, and getting clarity on that. But when you have that vision, it's asking yourself, okay, what are some goals that I need to set over the next 12 months that would lead me closer towards this vision being a reality? And to do this, you need to really be able to prioritize and determine which goals are going to make the most progress in that area. So, for example, for us, of having this dream of, living on the beach in Panama, and then also living in the city in Vancouver, like a multiple home lifestyle. And, when we looked at that vision, it's like, well, that vision is going to require a significant amount of money, okay, because real estate is obviously very expensive. It's going to require flexibility in terms of being location independent, being time, like having the time freedom. So being able to spend part of the year in this part of the world, another part in another part of the world. So we had to really look at, what would be required to turn this vision into a reality. Mm-hmm. And I think one thing we noticed with a lot of people is they have this incredible vision, but the vehicle that they're on right now, like this, the progress they're making, the goals that they're setting, the actions they're taking are just not going to get them to where they want to go. So for example, it would be someone that, wants to live in, multiple homes, travel the world, live this digital nomad lifestyle, but then they're going to university to, spend money, time, energy every day taking action towards something that's just not going to get them to that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. The path they're taking is going to get them to a job, and that job is going to have a limitation on how much money they can make, and also a limitation on their freedom because they have to report to a boss and they have to tell them what they do. And so it's just not in alignment with what they want.
Exactly.
So for us, it was realizing the catalyst and probably the most important goal that would help us to create this life would be an online business, because an online business just checked all the boxes of what we were looking for. It allows us to be our own boss. It allows us to work from anywhere we want to work in the world. It allows us to use scale and leverage where we're not limited in this offline business on a corner of a street in a little city that can't really scale to the levels that an online business can, where you can
reach the
entire world, have a website that's running 24/7, people are buying it, making passive income. It would scale so much more. Mm-hmm. And so an online business and financial freedom was really the main priority, because we also recognize that goal would allow us to have the time freedom that would allow us to take our relationship to another level, because we now don't have to spend 40 hours a week working for someone else. If we can actually retire in our 20s and 30s, then we now have all the time to spend together, go for dates, travel, be together, to be with our family, raise our kids the way we want to raise them, to be able to go to the gym once or twice a day if we want to be able to read the books and meditate, whatever it is.
Whatever is of importance to us. Instead of putting 8 hours a day into our job and working for someone else and helping them achieve their dreams, we can now put our time into doing what's important to us. whether it's swimming at the beach or volunteering or whatever we want to do with our time. That was always the ultimate dream, is to have that freedom to choose, how do I want to live my life today?
Yeah.
What do I want to do with that precious time?
Yeah. So it requires that awareness, and to be able to, determine, again, you're creating your goals in the context of what you want long term. So you got to know what you want long term.
Yeah.
And we both had jobs, right?
Yeah.
So we still had something that we're trading our time for money for, so that we could support ourselves. But we also had the ability to recognize that this job is just temporary. This job is just meeting our current needs at this stage of our life, but it's not going to take us to the promised land. It's not going to lead us to where we want to go. So what we did was, okay, we still need this job. It's useful for us to support ourselves, to have some capital. And then on the side, that's when we're working on the financial freedom piece. And, outside of our job, we're reading books and going through courses and going to events and doing all the things that are necessary, so that eventually we can get out of the job and pursue what we want full time. So I'd say, depending on what your vision is, breaking down your vision to what are those stepping stones and what are the first steps. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to know the first few steps ahead of you, and just trust that this direction will eventually lead me to where I want to go.
Yeah.
So that's the way that I would look at it, is, whatever kind of lifestyle that you want to create, look at what you're doing now, look at what you need to change right now, and set some goals over the next 12 months that can lead you in that direction. Maybe it's just, maybe you could set a goal like every month, I'm going to read a book on business, on marketing, on finances, on self-development, things that will support me. 12 books over the next 12 months that will lead me more to that mindset and knowledge base that will lead me to where I want to be 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So kind of to summarize, is that you have the vision, okay? And the vision is also important to help you make decisions in your day-to-day life. Sometimes I get messages from people and they're conflicted, they're not sure what to do. But if you have a vision, then the decision becomes a lot easier to make, because then you say, okay, well, is making this decision either going to help me get closer to achieving my vision, or is it going to deter me? So you have the vision, and then you set up maybe some more general goals. So like Stefan said, with ours, we needed to achieve financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, now we know that. Now, how specifically are we going to do that? What mode of transportation are we going to use to get there? And with financial freedom, there's 1,000,001 ways that you can earn a living and to earn financial freedom, right? We both share on our YouTube channels many different modalities in which you could choose to make money online and even to make passive income. And so you have to decide what that is for you based on what, resonates with you. And then you say, okay, and then you do the same thing with the time freedom and location and all that. You have to decide, is what I'm doing right now going to help get me in that direction or not? So even though right now maybe you are like a waitress, server at a restaurant, and it's not your dream career, it's not something you plan to do for the rest of your life, it doesn't excite you, in fact maybe you hate it. I know I did. When I was 20 years old, I was still, I was a student, but I was working as a server at a restaurant, and I hated it because my back hurt. I had to wear high heels, which was kind of ridiculous, and I did not enjoy it. But what I did realize is that, listen, this is a job. It's a gig. It's making me money. And what I'm going to do with this money is I'm going to save it, and I'm going to be able to save it and use it to invest into my first business. And my first business is going to help me get one step closer to achieving my ultimate vision. And so I was still motivated to go and to do my best and put my best foot forward at the job, even though I didn't really like it, because I knew how it tied into helping me achieve my ultimate vision. So maybe you're in that situation now where you hate your job, you don't like what you do. Maybe you are, pulling some extra work doing, Uber deliveries or whatever. But, you might not be motivated by that work itself, but what motivates you is how it ties into helping you achieve that ultimate vision.
I think, that's a really good point too, because I think it's also relevant for those that maybe are already working online and maybe already have a business. because, or even those of you that are taking those steps to maybe sell on Amazon or whatever it is that you're pursuing, drop shipping, because also you have to be able to look at the vehicle that you are taking to create financial freedom or whatever kind of life you want, and even ask yourself, is this really what's going to get me there? Because I know for you, for example, and me as well, when we first started learning about online business, internet marketing, the first thing that we started doing, we got some results with it, but we also had to have the awareness and the ability to say, this is, even though this is getting us results, it's not going to help us create what we really want.
Yeah.
So for you, and for me, we started publishing books on Amazon and made some good money from that, but it was like, well, this is not going to scale to the extent that we want to, where we can really make the abundance of money that is required to have the lifestyle we want. I know there's people, they have their little Etsy store or they're selling on eBay, and great, that's, maybe you've learned a lot, you're making some decent money from that, but you also have to be willing to say, is this path, is this direction going to get me to what I really want? If not, what changes do I need to make?
Yeah.
You've had to, the first Amazon product that you sold is different than the one that ended up making you millions of dollars, but you had to have that ability to say, this is nice making $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, but if I want to scale to the next level of 100,000 a month, 300,000 a month, then I need to be willing to not just be so stuck and fixed and just
what I'm currently doing.
And currently what you're doing.
Yeah.
I also, just one more example, for me, I did coaching a lot. And coaching, I enjoy it. It's a good way to make money, but you're largely trading your time for money. And I was filling up my days with coaching clients, and I had to look at that and actually be willing to walk away from a lot of that immediate money that I can make from coaching, and instead think about, how can I use my knowledge and my expertise to create content or courses or something that can scale, and it doesn't require me trading my time for money.
Right.
So it's even looking at that too, for those of you that are already on that path.
Yeah, so that constant self-reflection is critical. It's really important. And you guys can do this right now. You can say, okay, is what I'm doing right now going to help me is it going to tie into that ultimate vision? And for me, I was in university at the time, and I was already in my third year university. And I was like, I've committed a lot of time and money into my university, into my schooling. But if I graduate and if I get my dream job, is that going to help me get any closer to my vision? And the truth is, no, it actually pulled me away from it. And so I had to be brutally honest with myself. And I said, I have to, change the direction that I'm going. And so, like what Stefan said, is like everything that I did in my business, the first thing I did was like Kindle publishing, and that was great. And I was like, yeah, I'm making some money. I'm making my first dollar online and having some cash flow. That's great. But I knew that's not it. That's not all I should be focused on. That's not going to help me achieve a multi-million-dollar lifestyle that I want to live. So how can I tie this into the next thing? And so then I said, okay, let's do some retail arbitrage on Amazon. But again, that's like you're learning from it, you're gaining experience, you're making some money from it, but that's not going to help you achieve the bigger goal.
It served its purpose, but
yeah. And so then, even with my first product that I sold on Amazon, I knew that was only going to lead me to my second product and my third product. And with each new product, you gain more experience, and you can therefore have further success. So always thinking of it from that mindset, from that perspective, I think is important, because then you don't feel so disheartened with the current situation, with the current circumstances or whatever you're working on right now. And you just see how this is just, part of me getting to the next level. And there's many levels that you can ascend to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So with goal, just going back to the goals. So I like to set goals over a 12-month period. And then even out of the 12 months, I like to even break it down into quarterly goals. Mm-hmm. For example, let's say the goal that you have is to make a certain amount of money in your business. Maybe you want to make $30,000 this year in your business. Well, part of that goal and you setting that is going to be based on you looking at, what you did last year, the year before, and just kind of slowly scaling that up, because you still want that goal to be realistic and attainable. Mm-hmm. If you set goals that your brain doesn't believe are possible for you to achieve, then you're not going to achieve it. One quick formula that I've learned with setting goals, the sweet spot of it, is whatever goal that you set for yourself, let's say it is making $30,000, ask yourself, on a scale from 0 to 10, what level of belief do I have that I will achieve this goal over the next 12 months? If it's less than a 7 out of 10, then you're not going to take enough action to pursue it. It has to be like a 7, 8, 9, or 10 out of 10. So if you set the goal, I'm going to make $1 million this year, and you've never made like $50,000, then your level of belief might be like a 0, or 1 or 2. That's not going to be a good goal. If it's something that's like, okay, I'm starting a business for my very first time. I've never built a business before in my life. I'm going to be pretty conservative. Maybe, my goal over the next 12 months is to make $10,000, maybe just to break even. Maybe it's to make some profit. But again, you got to ask yourself on a scale from 0 to 10, what's my belief? And you might say, okay, $10,000. Okay, I got 12 months. I've got all these great resources. I believe, 7, 8, 9 out of 10. The other question you have to ask is, on a scale from 0 to 10, what's your desire for this goal? Because if you set the goal, I want to make, $10,000, and even though you have the belief that's like a 7 or an 8, but your desire is like a 3, it's just not that exciting for you, then you're also not going to take any action. So you have to find that sweet spot where your desire is also a 7, 8, 9, or 10 out of 10. Right? So then maybe you might say, okay, well, how about 50,000? Maybe that is enough where I can quit my job. That's exciting. The desire is 7, 8, 9, or 10. And the belief is still a good 7, right? So you have to find that when you set your goals. And really, you want to set yourself up to win. Because if you set goals that are unachievable, and then it comes to the end of the year, or as you're going through the year and you're like, there's no way I'm going to achieve this, you're going to avoid your goals. You don't want to look at them again because oh yeah, like this is not working out for me. And you're not going to want to set goals. In fact, you're telling your brain, why even try? Why even bother? Because every time I set goals and get my hopes up, I feel disappointed. If instead you make it very easy for you to achieve those milestones, like maybe you set a goal, like if your goal for the year is to make a certain amount of money, but you then break it down over the next 30 days, I'm going to choose a direction. Okay, 30 days after that, I'm going to, or maybe the first 3 months, or the first quarter, the first 3 months, I'm going to have launched a product, right? Mm-hmm. And that now is allowing you to have confidence and wins. You're having success, and success breeds more success. You get momentum from that rather than, feeling disappointed and discouraged because it's just not happening as quickly or fast or as smoothly as you want it to.
Exactly, yeah. So again, having the belief is critical because if you think about it, if you don't really have a lot of belief in, that you're going to achieve a goal, then how much effort are you going to put into it? How much action are you going to take in order to achieve the goal? Probably not much. And so if you don't put much effort or take much action, then what kind of results are you going to see? You're not going to see such great results. And if you don't see such great results, then what are you reinforcing? How are you going to feel about it? You're going to reinforce that, it didn't really work out for me. Yeah, it got shitty results, it didn't work. But if instead you have full belief that, yes, as long as I take the action steps, I'm going to achieve it, then you take those action steps and you see great results, and then you reinforce the belief that, yes, I can do this. Yes, it's possible. Yes, I did do this. So belief is very important. And so having goals for all these different areas of life that are of importance to you is how you're going to, achieve life mastery, essentially. It's what do you value? What do you want to focus on this year? Maybe you don't want to focus on every single area of life because maybe that's just too much for you. Maybe there's just certain areas of life that you want to focus on a little bit more than others. And you decide, okay, my focus this year is on, my relationship, or it's on my financial freedom, and then you set goals for that, and then you break those goals down, right? So you have your goals for the year, and then you break it down into quarters, and so you have your goals for each quarter, and then each quarter you have to reflect on those goals. This is very important. In fact, I would recommend you do it every month, because the more often that you reflect on your goals, the more you're able to recalibrate. So think of it like, each month it's easy to just go off track, right? And we're talking about, if you don't have a compass, you're going off track. But what you can do when you reflect on your goals, you might say, oh, this isn't working for me. Oh, I didn't hit this goal here. Or, oh, I learned this lesson. And then you recalibrate and it keeps you on track. So the more often that you're checking back on your goals, the better, the more you're going to be on track and get you closer to achieving your ultimate vision. So,
and one more thing to add to that too. I think some of the best goals also are you reflecting over the last 12 months of your life and looking at what your biggest challenges have been.
yeah,
In terms of, maybe that also requires awareness and self-honesty to say, okay, one of my challenges is laziness and procrastination. Okay, if that's a challenge for you and that's something that's getting in the way, then set a goal over the next 12 months or the next 3 months that can help you overcome that in your life. If one of your challenges is staying focused on one thing and you being all over the place, shiny object syndrome, then set a goal over the next 3 months, 12 months that can allow you to make progress with that. So you have to be able to look at yourself and say, what do I need to improve within myself? Do I need to work on my mindset? Okay, what are some goals I can set over the next 12 months? The books I can read, the podcasts, the seminars I could go to that will help me have the mindset that will lead me to achieving what I want. You have to look at yourself and your behaviors. If you have an addiction, maybe it's like, hey, I have an addiction to being on my phone, just scrolling through Instagram or scrolling through YouTube and just distracting myself. Well, that's something that, obviously is probably not going to allow you to create success. So maybe you got to set a goal where I'm going to limit my screen time, my time use on just browsing social media to 15 minutes a day. You've got to also look at those aspects too, so that you can become the kind of person that's worthy of success, the kind of person that attracts success in your life, because that's how it works. You have to, look at yourself, and even as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you have to work on certain skills. Maybe it's learning more about accounting or marketing skills that you have to learn, whatever it is. There's so much, but it requires that level of awareness to look at yourself. What's holding me back? What do I need to change and shift? And so make some of those personal shifts as well that will lead to greater success.
Absolutely. Yeah, your biggest obstacle to getting what you want is yourself usually. And so bringing awareness into, okay, what do I need to change? And so I love what you said is like, okay, yeah, if I notice, okay, I'm on my phone all the time, this is not going to help me achieve my goals, then what kind of little goal can I set to limit my screen time? What can I do? So being brutally honest and having that awareness. And also, one thing that you said is just reflecting each year. And one of the reasons that Stefan and I are sitting here making this video for you is because each year on New Year's, we sit down together and we reflect on the year. We look at all of the wins of the years, and we look at all the challenges, and then we think of all the lessons of the year, and we reflect on the goals that we achieved and those that we didn't. And so this kind of self-reflection helps you to gain a tremendous amount of awareness that's going to only help you further in your life. So the last thing I'll say is how I think it's really important that you also are very aware of any excuses that you have for the reasons why you don't have what you want. Because your excuses in life are only going to excuse you from the life that you desire. It's only going to hurt you in the end. So while you, yes, may have some legitimate challenges in your life, you have some obstacles, you have perhaps some limitations that make it harder for you than for others to achieve the goals and the desires that you have, you should never let yourself fall into the trap of self-limitation, of saying, I can't have what I want because of X, Y, Z, because then you'll never have it. So it's only going to affect you. It's not going to affect other people as much as it will you. So understand that there's nothing that you can't learn how to do. Like when I was starting my business, I knew nothing about business. I knew nothing. I didn't even own a computer at the time. I knew nothing. And I could have been sitting there and I've been like, wow, I'm very intimidated. And because I'm so intimidated with how over my head everything is, I'm just going to not even try, right? Like that's a cop-out. But what I said instead is, yes, there's a lot that I'm going to need to learn here, but I'm lucky to live in a day and age where there's nothing that I can't learn how to do. And if I'm willing, if there's a desire, then I can learn anything. So I learned how to do everything I needed to do in business. I wore a lot of hats. I learned how to do marketing. I learned how to do video editing. I learned graphic design. I learned how to source products. I learned how to do SEO. I learned how to do video content creation. I never knew how to create content on YouTube. I learned a lot of different things that I wasn't born knowing how to do, but I knew that if I wanted to create success, I'm going to have to step up. I'm going to have to get smarter. I'm going to have to read the books. I'm going to have to go to the seminars. I'm going to have to do whatever it takes to achieve the success that I desire. I'm not just going to sit here and say I want to be successful, sit here and say I want to achieve these goals and have this vision and not put any work towards it. So again, going back to the beginning of the video, once you have that vision, it's not like you just sit there and you wait for, it to manifest in your life. No, you have to put in the work and take the action to getting there, and you have to be hyper aware of your mind. You have to be hyper aware of your self-limitations, of the limiting beliefs that you have. One of the first things I had to address was my own limiting beliefs. When I started to desire having a business and having this vision, all of a sudden the self-doubt started to kick in. It's natural, right? And I had to become aware of those self-limitations. I thought that I was too young to become successful. I thought I was too young for people to take me seriously and listen to me on YouTube. I thought that I was too broke to be able to become successful. I don't have the resources that other people have. You need money to make money. That was my excuse. And so I became aware of these limitations, and I realized that I have a choice. I can either continue to limit myself and therefore I'm not going to achieve what I want, or I can break free of these limitations and change my beliefs into something that will serve me and something that will empower me. And so that's part of the process too, because these things will come up over and over again, and you just have to be very aware of it. That's why Stefan and I both share so much about mindset on our channels, because it's like, it is a foundational piece. Like, it always comes back to your mindset. Do you have the mindset of success?
Yeah, and everybody has their own journey. Everybody obviously starts somewhere. Some people have more challenges than others, but it doesn't matter where you start. What matters is where you finish. And whatever cards you've been dealt in life, you just got to play that hand and make the most out of it. I've worked with people that English is their second language, and so they feel like they have that disadvantage, but they don't allow that to stop them. They learn English, as billions of people have done, and they learn it and they work on it and they improve it, and that becomes a strength and no longer a limitation for them. Obviously everybody has a different level of time that they can dedicate and commit. Some people have more time than others. Whatever your circumstances are, you just accept it and you make the most out of it. If you only have a couple hours a week, then you only have a couple hours a week. You just make the most out of that time. And the most important thing is that you're making progress. Some people have more money than others to start. Some people have more knowledge or experience or skills in front of the computer, or some people have more confidence than others. Some people, are more fearless, whereas other people, feel like, maybe they're dealing with some mental health challenges. But the bottom line is, you can't allow those limitations to define you. You can't allow them to stop you, because either you make the choice, okay, I'm just going to accept this and I'm not going to do anything and I'm just going to live my life, and then 10, 20, 30 years of your life goes by and then you have massive regret. Or you decide, in spite of these circumstances, I'm just going to make the most out of it. It might take me longer. I'm not going to compare myself to the other person that, maybe it's a lot easier and smoother, for them. But one thing you can pull inspiration from is the countless examples of people throughout history who have defied the odds. If you look at like a Helen Keller had every excuse to just accept her limitations of being deaf and blind, but she didn't. She ended up graduating from university. She ended up writing books. She ended up becoming an incredible inspiration. Or you look at the musicians, the pianists who were deaf and ended up becoming, the Beethovens and, whatnot. It's incredibly inspirational. You can see inspirational figures on the internet, like a Sean Stevenson or Nick, I always mispronounce his last name, Nick Vujicic, who has no arms and no legs, and yet he's been able to attract and create the life that he's always wanted. And so there's countless examples of people who are worse off than you. And a lot of people, they get caught up in their story, and they allow the story of their life to be the reason why their life isn't the way they want it to be. And one quote that I love from Tony Robbins is the only reason you don't have what you want is because the story that you keep telling yourself about why you don't have it. And you have to divorce yourself from that story. You have to look for those examples and look at what you do have. Like there's people that have created success with less than where you are. You know, if the fact that you're here watching this, that's an advantage that other people don't have, is access to a computer and access to videos on YouTube.
Even understanding English is a huge advantage.
That's a huge advantage. Being born in North America, Europe, you know, a country that, you know, isn't going through corruption and, you know, that actually has some significant limitations kind of imposed on the people because of the corruption of the government. The fact, you know, for us, like being born in Canada is a huge advantage. Having, you know, parents that did the best that they could, having like a fairly decent education system in Canada. Like there's certain things that are huge advantages that you have over others because there's people that are with way less, you know, and they still find it. They still find a way. They still make it happen because your success is not going to be defined based on your circumstances. It's going to be based on your resourcefulness. If you're resourceful, if you're creative, if you work hard enough, you can make whatever you want happen in your life. You just have to believe it, get a support circle, find other people, you know, because if you're with your, you know, friends and family that are negative and imposing their mediocre, average, limited mindset on you and saying, oh, who are you kidding? Oh, that's never going to work for you, or that's a scam, you know, that's a pipe dream. If they are not supportive of you, then you're going to allow them to influence you and they're going to keep you stuck, right? It's like that tall poppy syndrome where people get too further ahead than everyone else. They pull them back. It's like also like the crab in the bucket. The crab will try to get out of the bucket, but the other crabs will pull it back down and limit it from actually being free.
Absolutely. Such wise words. And yeah, so it just, recognize that, everyone's got advantages and disadvantages, and some people just have way more challenges thrown at them. Some people just got dealt, you know, a hand that was a lot harder. But it's up to you to decide what you're going to do with that. It's up to you to decide, am I going to use this to motivate me, to fuel me, to inspire me to get out of my current circumstances and to create the life that I want to live? Or I'm going to continue to dwell in my story that may be 100% legitimate, but if you're going to continue to get absorbed by your story, how are you going to get ahead? So you have to create the advantage in your life. You have the ability to create your next advantage. So again, you have access to develop skills that are going to help you in whatever career you choose or whatever path you choose in life. And it's about just taking on that mindset of like, I am going to be the single tool that's going to help, that's going to allow me to create the life that I want. And I have to use myself as that tool and work on myself. And ultimately that's how you get there. So, you know, if you know, we're going to wrap it up here, but, you know, having that vision is important. Creating those goals as stepping stones towards achieving that vision, and just having that belief that it's possible, that you can do it. It doesn't happen overnight. You know, like again, you know, our vision with this dream home as one example has started 8 years ago. You know, that's not a small amount of time, almost a decade later, that we're now building it, and it's coming to fruition. It's becoming a reality. But everything starts with a vision. All the homes that I see around me here, they didn't just pop up. They started first up here. The architect had a vision of what he or she wanted to create. And with that vision, they now put it to work. They now took action. And that's how you see everything that you see around you. It all started with the vision.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like, guys, Tatiana, you know, myself, there's so much information that's available. There's so much inspiration for you. Just continue feeding yourself with that. You know, Tatiana, you know, brings on people to her channel to interview of people that, you know, everybody has their own story and journey, but they built their business or they created their success. And the beginning is always the hardest. The beginning is always the slowest, but once you get momentum and you find something that's working for you, that gives you more confidence and excitement. And then it becomes so much easier from that point forward. So, you know, you have tons of resources and opportunities. There's no shortage of it. You know, you have to find the ones that are best for you and be willing to pivot at different times and apply it fully to the best of your ability. But the resources are available for you. It's just more of a matter of resourcefulness.
Actually, yeah, for sure. So we're going to continue this conversation, but on Stefan's channel and Project Life Mastery. So if you want to continue the discussion about vision and goals, then you can head over there. I'll link it in the description box below. And I'll link anything that we referred to in this video in the description box below. And finally, if you guys, want a resource to help get you started this year on helping you achieve your financial freedom, building an online business, that's the path that I took. So that's how I'm able to help. And I have a free 4-part video series that I'll link in the description box for you guys that will introduce you to the idea of making money online through e-commerce. And you can decide whether or not that resonates with you. So you can go to tatianajames.com/FBA to gain access to that, and it's a 4-part video series and it's totally free. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. If you learned something, please share what you learned in the comment section below, and we'll see you over on Stefan's channel.